2025 Madison County School Board meeting. We have a public comment sign-in sheet back there in the back. If you have any public comment, you have up to 3 minutes. I think Ms. Thomas is going to introduce someone for our prayer.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It is my pleasure to introduce the young man that's going to pray for us on this evening. He is Madison County District Schools Spelling Bee winner. He went on to the Regional Spelling Bee to represent Madison County. He did a very good job. In fact, he was disqualified at a later round than anyone else from Madison County in the Regional Spelling Bee, so that says a lot about his character. But I also have a special presentation for him on this evening. The students who excel and they get perfect scores on their FAST assessments usually get a letter from the governor. His letter was not in there in the initial bulk, but his letter came at the end of March, and when I realized Dr. Pickles was going to ask him to pray, I said, well, let me hold his letter and frame it for him. So I'm going to present this to him. So Mr. Joni Charina Sanchez, if you would come up here. And this is his letter from last year, and it is stating that he had a perfect score in grade 6 mathematics assessment. That tells you about his character, who this young man is from Madison County. We look forward to him doing great things.
Oh, let's all stand.
I pledge allegiance.
Nope.
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us thank God for bringing us together today to discuss issues about our school community. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you.
All right, we are going to go to amendments to the agenda.
No amendments, but there will be a couple changes as I go through.
Okay. Anybody else? Amendments?
No, sir.
Okay, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Knight and a second by Ms. Hagan to adopt the agenda. Any discussions? If not, all in favor? 4-0. All right, consent agenda. 4.1 is the minutes. 4.2 is, I'm sorry. Before we go there, I forgot about the public comment. We got any? No, sir. No public comment? Okay. We're going to the consent agenda. 4.1 is minutes. 4.2 is curriculum. 4.3 is field trips. 4.4 is fundraisers. 4.5 is ELL plan. I think Dr. Pickles has...
I do have a comment. Under the curriculum, Ms. Hill was supposed to try to reach out and get updated curriculums for quotes to include. We want to have the dates. I'm asking for still the approval, but we want to update the dates so that we could have a start date of June 1 through May 31st. For this upcoming year, so that we could, anything that we could possibly use during summer school, we could use that instead, because they're all different dates in there, as you'll notice. So I would ask that you still go ahead and approve them. We'll just update the dates for a June 1 through May of next year.
And so, Mr. Chairman, their licenses that are year-long licenses, it's just the superintendent needs the authority to move the start and end dates on that year-long license to match the school year. because otherwise you had one that was going to end in April
April.
of next year, and then that's too early.
Okay.
And there's some that are August and some that are July, so we just want to do them all consecutive, June through May.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the start dates from Dr. Pickles?
I move to approve the consent agenda with the updated start dates.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Ms. Thompson and a second by Ms. Hagan to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on this? If not, all in favor? 4-0. All right, we're moving on to items for individual consideration. 5.1 is dumpster repair.
While Mr. Ginn is here, I believe he spoke to my husband originally.
He did.
And because of my husband, even though it's my son's business, I did tell him this would have to come to the board because this is a conflict of interest for me. So that's the reason he's reached out, and I'll let him explain the rest of this.
Yes, the district's in need of 2 dumpsters to be repaired. I contacted 3 vendors in Madison. Out of the 3 vendors, I got 2 quotes back. One declined to quote the job. So in front of you, you've got a quote from Ed's Repair Service, and the other one is from Pickles and Son Welding. And in order to save the district some money, it's I'm gonna recommend Pickles and Son Welding. They're $500 less than Mr. Ed's Repair Service.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I can.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is just welding a new bottom on the dumpster.
That's right. A
Okay.
new dumpster costs $2,650. So these dumpsters, I can get them repaired for $1,000 a piece.
Yeah.
So it's saving the district quite a bit of money.
And, Mr. Chairman, the superintendent had asked me to comment on it, or asked for my advice. I don't believe it's a conflict for the board to enter into a contract if you all decide to go with Pickles and Sons, because it's the low quote. But, the superintendent has authority to enter into contracts below a certain level. Even though this would be within that level, is my advice, bring it to the board, let the board approve it in an open meeting in front of everybody, and then there's no appearance of impropriety and nothing's being done behind closed doors.
Gotcha.
And so that's the low bid. You are free to award it to the low bid or otherwise. I mean, that's a decision of the board.
Okay.
I just do not feel comfortable when first of all, he did speak to my husband since my son was out of town, but then I would rather us be transparent with everything, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to accept the bid for the dumpster repair from Pickle and Sons.
Second.
Have a motion from Ms. Knight and a second from Ms. Hagan to accept the dumpster repair from Pickles and Sons.
Which is the low bid.
Which is the low bid from Pickles and Sons Welding. Any discussion on this? If not, all in favor? 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, 5.2, disposition of property.
So ignore the first one. We're only looking at the milestones for selling of the property. I did remove the appraisal and the realtor aspect. I did speak to Mr. Reeves and asked him, if you were good with these milestones, we will go ahead and move forward. We are expecting to receive our DOE fish update sometime this week, and then the board will have to approve it at the first May meeting. Once that approval happens, then we can go ahead and move forward with going ahead and having Mr. Reeves provide us with our proposal request and going ahead with the advertisement.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And board, you are certainly free to hire an appraiser and a realtor if you wish. You're not required to do that. So That's the point here, is that's one of the decisions y'all are making, is whether or not you want to. And if we get into the process and you decide in the middle of the process that you want to stop and get an appraisal, you're free to do that. But we wouldn't be going down that road right now if you approve these milestones.
All right. Do I have a motion of the disposition of property?
Or is there anything
Or
you
is-
want
Or
changed?
is there anything changed, Joe? You want something changed?
We will add a workshop in there after we have everything advertised to then,
What is the length of time that we're going to advertise this?
we discussed possibly 21 days.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think, I mean, we're going to start the fall term with those schools not being used for education. I would think you wouldn't want to dispose of them, though, until you were well into the fall term, just because you kind of don't know. You know, you don't want to bind yourself to something on those schools till in there. So I think you've got a good amount of time. I mean, we can advertise it for, you know, whatever y'all want for that, but I think you'd want to keep them until you were well into that fall term anyway.
So the only other question that I have on that is, are we going to be surveying the equipment that will be in these properties prior to this?
Yes.
You know, so that way we know what's going to be, because I know like a lot of the refrigeration equipment and kitchen equipment is not necessarily going to remain in the school. So is all of that going to take place before we do this?
Yes, Ms. Nguyen actually has to do that and report that out, and some of it she will be moving
Okay.
because it's newer equipment, bought with grant money. She will actually be moving some of that to the central school or,
Okay.
and/or high
High school.
school
Okay.
to replace some of the equipment that's older.
Now, when we did that in Jefferson, what we did was we put in the advertisement that the district retained the right to remove any of the personal property and equipment from the facility, but any that was left was then remained and transferred with them. But
Okay.
you weren't required to leave anything.
Okay.
And the point of that is you don't want to either give up what's there or bind yourself to clean it and
Correct.
remove everything. You know?
Well, I just know that there are some newer pieces of equipment in some of those facilities that we do plan to take. So I just want to make sure that that's
So
going to
we
be.
will take what we need to update.
That's right.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. I can tell you, in speaking to our property insurance, even if we were dispose of all the property next week, it's not going to benefit us. So we're not going to realize a cost savings this year, not until next year. So if we hold on to all the properties until December,
Yes.
it's not going to impact us. So
Thank you.
we have to pay it this
That
year.
gives us time to.
Gives
maneuver,
us time,
to
yes,
see
ma'am.
what's
That's right.
what.
Yes.
We don't
Well,
have to
and,
rush
and
into
you'll
it.
see who's interested. That's the big thing. You give everybody a chance, everybody can come in, make their spiel, and y'all can say.
Ms. Thompson.
Ms. Thompson,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
go ahead.
So what they're gonna do is advertise it in the paper. The board doesn't have to sell it for cash. They can sell it in the best interest of the community. So the bid's gonna say if you're interested in or the notice is gonna say if you're interested in the property, you have to make a proposal by X day. And in order to, and that proposal can kind of be anything you want. It could be for cash, it could be because it's a great something for the community, you know, any of that.
And Dr. Pickers, excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
can I speak?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Dr. Pickers, you have a letter written up about proposals and the way that we want the proposals, don't you, from the other
That's,
dumpster? Now,
I'm sure.
don't you have a letter of proposal that you can use?
oh, an RFP.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, and that's what he and I were talking about. We would put that.
But
request.
it's going to be very, very broad because the statutory restrictions are you all have to make your decision in the best interest of I think it's best interest of the public.
Yes.
And so that's your, and that can certainly be by selling it for cash, that could be by using it for a particular
And
purpose.
you can get that information from the superintendent.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Thompson,
Ms. Thompson.
I'm okay right now. I'll have some questions later.
All right. Need a motion? We have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the disposition of property with
The milestone.
Milestone.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second?
Hagan.
Ms. Hagan, you second? Okay. Have a motion by Ms. Knight, second by Ms. Hagan to approve the disposition of property. What was that word, the last word?
With the milestone.
With the milestones, okay? Any more discussion on this?
No, sir.
Not? All in favor? 4-0. Okay, personnel changes, Dr. Pickles?
We will go through several. Oh, my list changed, I'm sorry. Under the first one, under the personnel changes, you'll see we have several resignations. I do need to pull the transfer reassignment due to several questions and did I advertise it? And since we are eliminating several positions to give everybody the opportunity to apply, to make sure several administrators had the opportunity to have a job this upcoming year. So I want to pull that reassignment
Okay.
until the next meeting, and I'll go ahead and get that
Which one is
position.
that?
The curriculum
Okay.
position, and then I'll get that advertised internal only. And then there were also, oh, let me go back to it. On the there were also science boot camp extra hours preparing. We're coming down to our last few days before our science test, so we were doing some science boot camp. So our teachers that would be offering our science boot camp. And then the second one, there are 2 individuals listed that will offer provide childcare at the high school during the FAFSA Cowboy Showcase. And then I'm removing the request for the extra hours for the ESE. We should be having a resignation coming forth. Ms. Ritchie said that this individual has found another job, so she was pulling that request.
Okay.
And then the last one is transportation and food service, extra hours. And I believe a couple of you had some questions about the transportation. So I asked Mr. Tyrone to come and address.
Let me ask just one question, please, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
ma'am.
Now, the FAFSA, what is that date and time?
Hold on
School
just a
FAFSA Night
sec.
Cowboy Showcase?
April 21st.
That's tonight?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just gonna say that. Thanks.
Okay.
So there's the extra hours that are listed. And then the extra hours, I think it was on some of the questions I received, so I did ask Mr. Tyrone to come, were on those long and midday bus routes. So, but we did list everybody here. So Mr. Tyrone is here, so if any of you guys have questions and you want him to explain everything, but we tried to put the extra hours per day. And he can explain more, and he can just explain, or you can ask questions, whichever way you would like to do it.
Explain it
like
there,
Yeah, I would like to kind of present what he has, and then we can ask questions. I would like it that way,
Okay.
because I don't know what he got to ask the question.
Acknowledge the board. Thank y'all for having me here tonight. So what we have is long routes, special trans, extra pay, NFCD, and midday and activity runs. So the bus drivers and the monitors that are full-time, they're contracted 4 hours. So anything out of the norm is where we get the extra pay or the long routes. Now let me go into the long routes. So our special trans, say they leave from 2 to 4 in the afternoons or 6 to 8 in the mornings. Sometimes with that they end up going over, but none of our special trans are not getting any extra pay, but that's going to our regular bus drivers. In the mornings they go from 6 to 8 and they have to do what we call a pre-trip, a mid-trip, and a post-trip. And a lot of times when you see the buses parked, after they finish with all their kids, they're doing the first thing that I require them to do, safety first. And safety first is to make sure there are no kids left on the bus. So when those buses are parked, if you have a driver, for an example, that leave at 2:15 and they get done at 4:30, 4:45, which we done because they have those 2 hours. When they get back, they're watching the bus, they're walking the bus, making sure everything is turned off. There are no students, there are no items that are left behind. So when you see like an extra hour, that considers that morning run and that afternoon run as well. So our midday run midday is a lot of our kids, they have shortened days. We have several kids that have shortened days in the ESC department. They call us, hey, they're shortened days, and we have about like 4 or 5 students that a driver comes and running all over the county to make sure. So then we have our extra activities, and a lot of our buses, our bus drivers probably pull out about 6 o'clock, but for them to do a good pre-trip, it takes about 20 minutes before they even run that bus. Mm-hmm. So they do that pre-trip, they get on there, so by the time they get done, it's 8 o'clock, so they're past that. But when they're doing their midday, their midday runs, well, like I said, it all depends on what all they have to do, where all they have to go to add up those hours of where we are. So then we had the one, I think, that goes to Tallahassee. Well, with her, she doesn't stay. So she leaves and she goes an hour and a half there, hour and a half back. She does that twice. But then with that, there is some equipment that we asked the previous administration for that we never got. So it's taken longer to load this particular student that we have. So that puts her in that range where if we had that other equipment, they wouldn't have to have assistance to do what they need to do in that. So that's where we are. So I hope I answered that, what you was looking for. But
So what we're doing is we're cheating people out of hours.
well, what we're doing, I would say what we're doing is right now they are being compensated for what they're doing.
We're rectifying the
Yeah,
fact that
see,
they
we're
have
trying to
not.
figure out,
Yes.
but the board just wants to know why, so we're just trying to, because when I actually didn't hear this when I came.
Okay, let me finish.
Okay.
I'm saying that we're cheating people out of hours. We compensate those people.
Yes.
But if we were to do a contract and correct all this, then we would have to have all this stuff.
Right.
And give them the hours that we think. Board members, Madam Superintendent?
That's correct.
Yes.
That's been something that I've realized.
Oh, okay.
So-
Trying to rectify.
And so we rectify all these things, and it doesn't have to keep coming back, and we doesn't have to keep comping and put all that stuff, okay?
What about the North Florida Child Development Funds? What about them?
That's the contract.
That's the contract.
I know,
Yeah, we
I
do.
know. Who pays for that?
They do.
They do.
Well, they're supposed to reimburse us. Now, I know the administration before, they was having problems with it, so I'm not sure how that is going now, but they're supposed to reimburse us and
Do we
pay
ever
that
get
driver.
reimbursed for that? Have
I'll
we
have
ever got
to-
reimbursed for that?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
We've always been reimbursed for that.
Okay.
That's a different company, way
I
less than
know that, I know that.
And, you know, we can't afford.
My understanding, there
When
were
they
some
have the money.
issues before.
They
Yeah.
have monies for those things.
We had issues with the contract
That's-
facilitating it.
I was gonna say that was not directly related to this.
Have they reimbursed you?
Oh, I have.
I'll have to check
Who
with Miss
does,
Sandy.
who gets that?
I'll check with Miss Sandy. It comes
It
through.
comes from
Yeah,
that?
that goes paper.
He said that's above his pay grade.
Tyrone, what is, out of curiosity, so I can note it here, what is the piece of equipment that was necessary for the student that we
It's a
had not-
lift.
A lift?
It's a lift.
Yes, ma'am.
He and I have already talked about it.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And so I like that with that safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are things that I'm sure that the board would appreciate if we knew about these
Right.
things.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I appreciate our bus drivers and we shouldn't have to be lifting students and doing things like
Well,
that.
and it would be far more economical. We bought all of those extra
Yes.
vehicles. Why didn't we retrofit one of those vans
Yeah.
to handle this?
Yes.
You know, when we
Yeah.
had the money to do that. So, that was not presented to us, and so that's definitely.
I apologize that it has not been handled before.
Does,
And I appreciate the bus driver that has been handling that.
does the,
She will appreciate it because she's been complaining.
does the midday run, you take a bus for that, or you take
You take a car.
a car?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, that's good. I mean, if it's, know, if we can use the car instead of a bus, that saves a little bit.
Well, and I think going into consolidation, obviously, we're going to be revisiting a lot of this stuff, and we're going to be fine tuning this to make sure that this type of stuff is not falling through the cracks moving forward. You know, going into the consolidation, you know, obviously, transportation is a concern for the parents, so we want to make sure that we are, you know, going through all of this with a fine tooth comb to make sure that, you know, everything is handled. So, thank you for bringing this to
Nothing is
us.
stupid. If you have something that you need to present, nothing is stupid. We
Right.
need to know about it.
Correct.
And then we will figure it out.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'd rather address it, you know, I'd rather be proactive than reactive. So, you know, if there's needs that's not being addressed, you know, like, we definitely need to know about that moving forward.
Thank you much.
So can I ask one other thing?
Yes, sir.
And, you know, listen, I drove a bus for, I would never, ever, they deserve a lot more than they get
They do.
Right.
because of what it takes. But I just wanna know, on some of these in here, they drive in like 9 hours.
Now,
If they get 4 and 3
that would be
and
your,
2.
if you're looking at 9, you must be looking at your, activities in afternoons.
No,
Because-
no, I'm not. I'll tell you, I'll talk to you about
Well,
this.
anyway, bus drivers are our first point
Yeah.
of contact
Yes.
with
Right.
students. We gotta have them to get them there, our first point of contact. So we want to be proactive with all this bus duties and responsibilities.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
On that note, tomorrow is Bus Driver Appreciation Day. So I would like to say thank you to all of our bus drivers and to you for everything that you do. We appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so do you want us to, just
I
to
asked-
adopt these at once, or with
You
different
can, with the
motions?
exception of removing the curriculum transfer at this
Okay.
time.
So, Mr.
Okay.
Chair, I
So what are
would,
we doing about the bus drivers now? Are we giving them extra hours?
Yeah.
No, just approving this for now.
Approving
Okay.
The extra hours would be a
Okay,
union
so that's
negotiation.
presentation.
right,
Yes,
Okay.
so they can receive all these extra hours.
all right. So, Mr. Chair, I would move to accept the personnel changes with the amendment of the curriculum position.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion by Ms. Knight and a second by Ms. Thompson to approve the,
Personnel.
personnel, with the amendment to the curriculum position. Any more discussion on this? Not all approve? 4-0. All right, volunteers, Doctor.
You have 13 before you this evening. Most of them are for the central school for day field trips. So I do ask for your approval of our volunteers.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the volunteers.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the volunteers.
I second.
We have a motion by Ms. Hagan and a second by Ms. Thompson to approve the volunteers. Any discussion on these volunteers? If not, all are in favor? 4-0. Staff travel, Dr.
There are 2 trips before you. Ms. Fletcher and Mr. White will attend the FISBIT, and there's no charge for that. And then Mr. Williams and Mr. White will attend a student safety and security, and that will be paid out of Title II with a cost of approximately $500.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the staff travel?
I move to approve the staff travel.
I second.
I have a motion by Ms. Thompson and a second by Ms. Knight to approve the staff travel. Is there any discussion on this? No discussion? All in favor? 4-0. expenditure report. Dr. Pickle.
Before you is the March expenditure report, and I know that Ms. Gibson previously had asked for more detail, especially on the Regions Bank. We've gotten as much detail as we can get, and I did speak to her and explain. So the region P cards, how the P cards work. My card does carry a limit, and one issued to one other administrator, which I'm fixing to pull back, just due to some other questions about our P card system as a whole, has a limit. So other than that, all P cards do not have any money or credit available on them. So when somebody goes to travel, such as even yourself, and you're issued a P card, they have to put money, available funds on the P card.
Right.
So, and then only certain things could even be charged or on the P card, such as tolls, gas, hotel. And then it can also be used as the registration, for the registration. Everything else should be done with a PO or requisition. So those are, P cards are limited to certain things that it can be used for. It's not like we can go and charge food or anything like that. So there are certain restrictions. So, and then as soon as the individual comes back, turns their P card in, any available funds that are still on there, they're removed. So it goes back to a zero. So it's not like it carries a credit limit or anything. So, are there any other questions though about the expenditure report?
I just need to ask, on these copy facts things, how are they, I mean, is that for a year or is that for?
They're every month.
Every month?
Yes, sir.
And it just goes by what, how much we use it?
Isaac, I believe you can answer those.
Yeah, so the copy facts is they bill us a
count.
minimum amount. Well, there's two different ones for printers, like classroom printers, they bill us a minimum amount per month, and then we reconcile at the end of the year and pay whatever is over, whatever we didn't pay. And then for the copy machines, it is what we used the prior month. It's actual billing.
A copy count. I do know that they have come and picked up one copier, but it was not through Copyfax, it was through the other vendor. And I believe we're still waiting on them to copy fax. Oh, they did come get it. We were waiting on Copyfax to come pick up one, because anywhere I can get rid of one, it's like, sorry, you can walk 5 feet around the corner to come pick it up. So, and with the consolidation, we'll be able to get rid of some of these machines and get them off.
I see where one was $2.03 and it goes all the way up to $724.
And a lot of that is because how the account lines are broken out in that expenditure report.
I got you. So it's every month, huh? Jesus.
I'm hoping the consolidation will take care of some of those and we'll get rid of some of those.
I got you.
Like I said, they just came and picked one up.
All right, I don't have anybody else? All right. Do we have a motion to accept the expenditure report?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the expenditure report.
Have a motion by Ms. Knight. Have a second?
A second.
Have a second by Ms. Thompson to approve the expenditure or accept the expenditure report. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? 4-0. Okay, going on to financial report and budget amendments, Dr. Pickles.
As you'll recall, I let you know that I had contracted with Mr. Walter Copeland through the end of June to work on our financials, to try to get us caught back up and start to work on everything that we're going to have for this summer. So before you have an updated financial statement. It is in a different format. Hopefully it's a little easier to read. And then on the table before you, I also printed out, and he gave me a copy of it, It was what was presented to DOE. I gave you a copy over there, behind you, I'm sorry. So there's two budget amendments we need to make tonight. Instead of trying to, there were some issues trying to go back, trying to look at what was presented and approved back in August, and then July, we were looking at the July one, and then September, and then November, and things just, we were trying to figure out everything. So we went back to what was submitted to DOE. So in the colors here, if you kind of look at the color scheme, so we have the budget adopted by the school board on September 3rd, and that's what matches this document that I laid before you. So looking at that, we have to make that budget amendment and to make everything with our general fund match. And so therefore, we just want to make those general fund revenues and the budgets correctly reflect our initial district budget. So that's what our first amendment's going to be, is to have that budget amendment, because we need to have what was submitted to DOE match. It doesn't impact our fund revenues or anything. It's not going to impact our initial budget. So it's nothing like that. We just want to make sure we're matching. Our second budget amendment is based on the third calc. So if you look at our total revenues, this is the format Mr. Copeland used before. He would always have our total revenues. We would have the year-to-date activity, and then he always had the percentage of the budget expended. So our total revenues, we've collected 76.09%. And then if you go on down, our expenses, we're at 74.98%. So the two budget amendments I'm asking for tonight are to just correct the beginning budget based off what was adopted and submitted, to adjust that. So overall, that puts us at the, I'm going to put my glasses back on, with our total general fund, and that's unrestricted and restricted, would be 21.7. If you'll recall, our restricted monies might be something like the salaries, our reading allocation, those categoricals. But our total unrestricted or unassigned is 8.45 as of the end of March. So that's the money that we can use for raises and everything. So I do ask that you approve our financial report with our two budget amendments.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the financial report and the budget amendments as stated by Dr.
Do you need them to do them separate, do a budget amendment 1 and then budget amendment 2? Or can they do them both?
They can do them together.
Okay.
All right, let me ask you one again. Do I have a motion to approve the financial report and the two budget amendments that Dr. Pickles explained to us?
I move to approve the budget, the financial report and budget amendments.
I second.
You got a second?
I second.
Have a motion by Ms. Thompson and a second by Ms. Knight to approve the financial report and budget amendments stated by Dr. Pickles. Any discussion on this? Anybody? Okay, no discussion, all in favor? 4-0. All right, let's go with superintendent items.
Couple of things. Tonight is our last home game of our softball girls, and then we'll be going and starting districts next week. The light pole has been dropped off today. It should be energized by the electrician tomorrow, and they should finish up the final repairs there with our softball field and baseball and be totally finished and out of there by Friday. Before you, I provided you for information. Remember when Ms. Pinkerson came, we talked about a voting system. This was a quote that Isaac provided for us. So you see the 1 year is available, and then they also have a 5-year discount, so that's just there, and we can discuss it at a later time. One of the field trips you approved, and I'll make sure Mr. Tyrone knows, we will be having, Senator Corey Simon reached out, his office reached out, and invited the football team and our coaches and myself to come Wednesday to come over and be recognized on the Senate floor. So we will be traveling over Wednesday. So we have 44 players going. So they're all excited about going over on Wednesday. So we will leave here about 7:45, I believe. So we're excited. I've had to tell them, just remind everybody, I had to tell Coach Harris, please tell them not to have anything on their person because we have to go through security. We don't want to get held up in security.
ID and car keys.
Yeah.
But ID and car keys. Leave
Just-
everything else in.
They don't even need car keys because they
Yeah,
ride in the
probably
bus.
car keys, yeah.
So we're excited about that. I'm excited about our girls. Our boys lost to Alcilla last week, so they're finished with their district's games. So we're winding down. Testing's, they're pushing. So, and actually we are going to push summer school to be held at Greenville. And we are going to offer summer school to all of our Greenville students for all grades, and then do the 3rd grade retention there.
Awesome.
So we really want to try to not lose the momentum with our Greenville students. So that's all I have at the moment.
Okay. Mr. Turner,
No, sir. Not unless you have questions of me.
you sure?
Positive.
All right. Don't go to town saying they won't let me talk.
No.
Okay, Ms. Hagan? Nothing? Ms. Knight?
I do. I have something that I'd like to bring up and maybe just have an open discussion about. I thought it was already being addressed, and it has not. And conveniently, Mr. Tyrone is here this evening, so softball and baseball, to say they've fought through some adversity this season has, putting it mildly. We've had to rearrange the schedules because of the fields not being playable. We've had to play a lot of away games that we ordinarily would not have had to play because of the fact that the fields were not repaired, and the loss of revenue from concession stands and the gates. And now we have, an extra expenditure on these teams for all of the away travel. That's really putting a burden on the programs. And I was not able to verify the exact amount for baseball, but I did get a copy of the invoice for softball. And I think that it would do us well to not be charging the teams for that travel when it was on us. Here we are charging them, thousands of dollars to have to go to games because we didn't do our part to make sure that their facility was repaired and ready for them to play, on top of the loss of revenue from it. So I really would like to, maybe open a discussion to the board and consider that we, for this season, based on the circumstances, waive the cost of, the district-provided transportation for the softball and baseball team.
So you said that you've received that information, the rest of us have not. So the rest of us should receive that information.
Right, and like, I'm bringing it up so that we can talk about it, and, we can, discuss, dollar amounts and things like that. I'm out there, so that's, part of the reason why I'm a little bit more, engaged in, what is and is not happening. So it's not that the parents are complaining, and it's not that the coaches are complaining, but, I'm physically there, and I know the burden of the extra expenditures that have been put on the organizations, and they struggle enough as it is to fundraise, and, they already have to maintain facilities that they shouldn't be maintaining, and so the extra burden of those expenses to have to travel, I think that's something that, I would like to open conversation about for us to consider
And then the
waiving.
first thing they should do is take it to the superintendent.
Well, it has been brought up, and like I said, we thought it was going to be taken care of, so.
So if, I'm not against it, but it should be to the superintendent, and then we get that information, and get it on the agenda. At the workshop, discuss it.
So if there is not, a huge kickback, and everybody's in agreement, then I would ask that it be added to our next agenda for a vote. By
I'll
the
get
board.
both amounts. I'm only aware of softball. That's the only one that's come to me.
Well, they were both paid without the coaches being notified, so that's why they weren't sure what the amounts were. It went to the school office and it was paid automatically, and so they didn't really realize what the amount was. Do you know offhand how much baseball's invoice was? No?
No, because that comes straight out of finance.
So,
So the information you're going to want then for the next meeting is the extra travel that they had to do because of the facilities weren't ready, right?
yeah, I mean, like I
All
said,
that
even,
documentation.
That documentation.
even outside of the extra travel, they've lost revenues. Like ordinarily their gate fees and their concession fees would cover the cost of all of that. So, not even being able to recuperate that revenue, even paying, the handful of little games that they would have had, it's still a burden on them because of the fact that they've lost revenue. I mean, so.
Well, you lose revenue when you have to play so early that
Yes.
parents can't get to the
Well,
game.
that's the case for softball, yes.
Yes.
Well, I think it should be the case for both. And what Ms. Knight and Mr. Carroll are both referring to is because they had, not having lights, they've had to move their games up to 3 to
and 4 o'clock in
3:30.
the afternoon.
So they were not having as large a crowd in attendance. And even for the varsity games starting at 5 o'clock, they were not having as large an attendance at their games.
Right. We just had senior night on Thursday, and I mean, it is the smallest crowd that I've ever seen for a senior night, and that's not, saying that, the community didn't show up for the girls, but the time, we're hosting senior night at 4:15 in the afternoon when people are still at work. So, they show up, when they can get there, but by the time they get there, we've already collected the box because, game's almost over at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So this season has been very challenging, financially for both of those organizations, and I really think that it just needs to be added to the next agenda.
With the hurricanes and all that stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
So that has put us in a different predicament.
Right. It's a different year because of hurricanes and, trouble getting people to fix fields. That sort of thing. So,
In
anyway,
addition
if we
to
could-
that, I would just like to say, like Ms. Thompson pointed out earlier, tomorrow is Bus Driver Appreciation. So I would just encourage you all to, tell your kids when they get on the bus tomorrow, just to thank their bus driver. And just know that the entire transportation department, from top to bottom, you are greatly appreciated.
As I said earlier, and I'll say again, tomorrow is Bus Driver Appreciation Day, and I'm very thankful for our bus drivers. But then Wednesday is National Administrative Professionals Day. So Ms. Tammy, thank you for everything you do, and for all of our administrative professionals for everything you do. We got 2 days back to back, so thank you everybody for everything you do.
Okay. Well, of course, I'd like to just thank everybody for what they do, and since it's Bus Drivers Appreciation Day tomorrow, thank all our bus drivers, because like Ms. Hagan said, they the first one to see them. The little darlings, the first thing in the morning. So
First one to see those little rascals.
they can start the day off great, or it could be not so great. So anyway, and that's a tremendous job. Bus drivers has a tremendous responsibility, and it's one of those jobs that they don't get paid the most, but they do. It's one of those jobs too that one mistake and is over for them. And so we appreciate them.
Yes.
We need more bus drivers, and so we thank them. And then, for our people like Ms. Tammy, school won't run without you.
That's right.
Gotta be here, so.
Before you adjourn, Mr. Tyrone, would you like to come up and tell what the bus drivers have going on this week? I think the children will be pleasantly surprised all week.
So we did reach out to Dr. Pickles, and we wanted to do something to represent the bus drivers and also the community. So Tuesday, we're doing Madison Day. So they're gonna wear something to represent Madison. Wednesday, they're gonna do Wacky Day. Thursday is Autism Day for Blue.
Okay.
And then Friday is College Day. You represent your favorite college.
So they're gonna dress up.
Yes, ma'am.
Kind of spirit week all week.
Awesome.
So,
And we're excited, and we appreciate everything what all y'all have done and for reaching out to us. We're really grateful. We're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. There's nothing else.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.